Imagine a machine that can withstand the blast of a high-explosive device, endure fire from automatic weapons, and keep rolling even with shot-through tires. This is the legendary Hummer, designed for the most dangerous missions. From operations in the Persian Gulf to modern combat zones, over 280,000 armored Hummer vehicles have become an essential part of the United States Army. How do these machines go through their testing? Which materials protect the crew? And why do they produce 70 of them per day? Let us find out. To understand why the Hummer became synonymous with invincibility, one should first look back at its history. In the 1980s, the American automobile company called A.M. General unveiled a modified Hummer that was initially developed for the civilian market. However, the troops quickly recognized its advantages for modern warfare, especially on the front lines, where soldier protection is paramount, and armored vehicles became critically important for safety. A true breakthrough came after the Hummer became the main transport vehicle for the United States military during operations in the Persian Gulf at the beginning of the 1990s. Since the year 1893, over 280,000 Hummer units have been manufactured. But how can one ensure that this off-roader not only endures harsh conditions, but also provides protection in the most hazardous situations? What exactly sets the military armored Hummer apart from civilian models? Let us see how the armored components are constructed to turn these vehicles into a genuine steel shield on wheels. Military Hummer vehicles use specialized armor materials, including composite armor that combines steel plates with ceramic inserts. These materials can withstand shots from a variety of weapons, including automatic rifles and sniper rifles. Moreover, by incorporating composites, these vehicles are not only armored, but also relatively light for their size. The production rate is around 70 vehicles per day. A key structural element of the armored Hummer is the concept of plus armor. This means that multiple layers of protection are added onto the vehicle, enabling maximum defense in a wide range of combat scenarios. There are also additional design modifications, such as reinforced suspension and strengthened tires, allowing the vehicle to keep moving even if one of the tires has been damaged. Another important aspect is the strengthened floor and roof. In military Hummer vehicles, the floor is structurally protected against blasts. Special materials are used to absorb the shockwave, which reduces risk to the crew if the vehicle encounters a minefield or an explosive device. However, armor is only one part of the overall safety level. Each high-mobility multi-purpose wheeled vehicle, commonly known as the Hummer, consists of over 5,000 parts. Combat Hummer vehicles must not only be protected, they must also be real beasts capable of moving through absolutely any conditions. How is this kind of mobility achieved? In order to preserve high off-road capability and endurance, military Hummer models are equipped with a powerful diesel engine. This engine can generate substantial power that lets the vehicle easily travel through desert sands or mountainous routes, even if there is no road at all. A specialized transmission and adapted rear wheels ensure constant stability in the most extreme conditions. Many modern military Hummer vehicles integrate intelligent control systems that allow the engine and transmission to adapt to the terrain. This significantly boosts maneuverability and endurance during large-scale strategic movements. Armored versions receive steel that is half an inch thick, along with bullet-resistant glass that is 1.5 inches thick. Besides armor, electronic safety systems are vital, such as sensors that detect mines and explosive devices, along with systems designed to remain fire-resistant. They add another layer of protection for the crew, which is particularly critical in combat situations. What else is worth mentioning when talking about armored Hummer vehicles? There are several technical considerations to bear in mind. Military Hummer versions often feature specialized camouflage coatings that help them blend into the environment. This is crucial for enhancing survivability on the battlefield, where every detail can make a difference. Interestingly, the Hummer is not a static vehicle. Its design allows modifications based on mission needs. These can include additional weapon systems, medical equipment, or other specialized modules, depending on the task at hand. A military Hummer can carry up to 2,500 pounds of cargo or tow up to 7,500 pounds. Producing armored Hummer vehicles is a complex and lengthy process that demands highly skilled engineers and advanced technology. Everything starts with meticulous planning. Engineers account for every aspect, from improved mechanical components to resilience during blasts. Multiple prototypes are built, each undergoing a battery of tests. They are dropped from heights, fired upon, and examined for endurance in different conditions. Previously, AM General, the company that originally created the legendary Humvee, was in charge of production. However, in the year 2020, the license to manufacture new military vehicles was granted to Oshkosh Defense. As a result, combat Hummer vehicles are gradually being replaced by the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle, a more modern armored off-road vehicle. Therefore, military and civilian versions are produced separately, using different factories, technologies, and even materials. The body and armored panels are cut using laser or plasma machines, and then they are welded by robots and highly qualified specialists. Precision is crucial, because all seams must be airtight to enhance blast resistance. The Hummer is built on a robust steel frame, designed to withstand high loads. The chassis and engine are assembled separately, then tested for functionality. Only after that are they joined with the body. Once the main parts are put together, the vehicle is fitted with armored panels and additional protection. This stage is time-consuming because every component must be installed with the utmost precision. The interior of a military Hummer is nothing like that of a civilian vehicle. Everything is dedicated to functionality. Some models have air conditioning, which is essential in desert conditions. After assembly, the vehicle is painted with special scratch and corrosion-resistant paints. Several options are employed: desert camouflage for sandy regions, woodland or urban camouflage for the respective environments, and anti-radar coating to reduce visibility on radar systems. This is no ordinary paint. It is formulated to withstand heat, freezing temperatures, and the impact of blasts. The high-mobility multi-purpose wheeled vehicle is not produced in the same way as mass-market civilian cars. It is manufactured in relatively small batches, so fully automated production is impractical. At the same time, certain processes, such as welding and painting, are streamlined by a conveyor system for speed and consistency. Each high-mobility multi-purpose wheeled vehicle is equipped with a 396 cubic inch diesel engine that outputs 190 horsepower. This powerful diesel engine is engineered to operate under extreme conditions. The transmission is a 4-speed automatic adapted for off-road use. The vehicle has permanent 4-wheel drive and automatic differential locks. It accelerates to 37 miles per hour in approximately 17 seconds. It is slow, but speed is not the main goal for the military. For military transport, the priorities are off-road performance, reliability, and endurance. The high-mobility multi-purpose wheeled vehicle is not designed for swift maneuvers, but for traveling over any type of terrain. It has a high ground clearance of 16 inches, which allows it to clear rocks, ditches, and logs. Full-time 4-wheel drive and differential locks prevent it from getting stuck in mud or sand. The engine and fuel system are protected to withstand fire and blasts. There is minimal onboard electronics, meaning fewer things can break down in the field. It can continue moving on punctured tires. Special inserts allow driving even after the tire has been hit by a bullet. Its payload capacity allows transporting ammunition, injured personnel, and weapons ranging from machine guns to anti-missile systems. It may not be the fastest ride, but it will get you where others simply cannot go. The standard military high-mobility multi-purpose wheeled vehicle initially did not have armor, but since the year 2000, most models have received protection against small arms fire and shrapnel. Configurations vary, from soft body transport versions to the most widespread ones, capable of withstanding a high explosive device blast of up to 13 pounds. There are models with protection systems against chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons. Assembling a single high-mobility multi-purpose wheeled vehicle takes from 3 to 5 days, depending on the armor. At the AM General facility, where they build the high-mobility multi-purpose wheeled vehicle, there can be up to 3,000 workers in one workshop. However, only about 25 or 30 individuals work on assembling a specific vehicle at any given time. These include welders, mechanics, electricians, and armor specialists, each carrying out their tasks at each stage of the production line. The more complex the version, the more time and personnel are required. Before they are shipped, all high-mobility multi-purpose wheeled vehicles undergo 310 miles of test trials across off-road terrain, water, and dust. You already know how the Hummer is painted, but allow me to elaborate on the special matte paint known as chemical agent-resistant coating, which has several important properties. It does not reflect infrared light, making it harder to detect the vehicle with thermal imaging and night vision equipment. It resists chemical attacks. Its formulation makes it easier to wash off hazardous substances following chemical contamination. It withstands scratches and corrosion, enduring impacts from branches, sand, rain, sun, and aggressive liquids. The matte finish eliminates glare, which is critical for battlefield camouflage. The painting process involves multiple layers that are applied to the aluminum body and armored panels. Every year, we produce approximately 101 million short tons of textile waste, and more than half of that trash simply rots in landfills. But what if we could turn it into something useful? Imagine this: your favorite t-shirt, a stylish blazer, or even designer sneakers, all made from plastic bottles. Yes, fashion is already changing, and brands are turning waste into trendy clothing. How exactly does plastic become fabric? Why are large companies already earning millions from this? And does such clothing truly save the environment? Let us figure it out. Every year around the world, approximately 101 million short tons of textile waste are produced, of which only 15% is recycled, while 57% ends up in landfills. We need to do something about that, right? It might sound like science fiction, but in fact, plastic can be easily recycled into fabric. Let us start with the fact that most of the textiles we wear every day consist of synthetic fibers, such as polyester. Here is something interesting. Polyester is nothing more than plastic. Yes, you understood that correctly. Plastic bottles or other plastic waste can be turned into fibers that are then used to make fabrics. The process looks like this. Old plastic bottles, plastic containers, or even damaged plastic items are collected, washed, cut into small pieces, and then these pieces are melted down into new plastic fibers. These fibers are then woven into fabric that, in terms of its characteristics, is almost no different from traditional materials like cotton or wool. Now imagine this. It is not just a technological marvel, but also a chance to reduce the amount of plastic that ends up in nature. This usually happens in the following way. Plastic is sorted by type of plastic, most frequently polyethylene terephthalate, and by color. Clean and transparent plastic is more valuable because it is easier to obtain high-quality raw material from it. After that, the waste is washed in special baths to remove any remaining beverages, glue, and labels. Then, special industrial shredders equipped with sharp blades cut the plastic into uniform fragments. Sometimes water cooling is used for this purpose. In order to avoid overheating the material, the smaller the plastic is shredded, the easier it is to melt and clean it from impurities. Next, the shredded plastic is heated to about 932 degrees Fahrenheit until it becomes a viscous liquid mass. Then, this melted mass goes through special filters to remove any remaining contaminants. After that, it is extruded through fine nozzles, creating thread-like fibers. These fibers are cooled by a stream of air or water, after which they are twisted into yarn that becomes the basis for textile materials. It is impossible not to notice that fashion is now moving towards sustainability. All those popular brands we know and love, such as Adidas, Patagonia, and Stella McCartney, are increasingly using recycled plastic in their collections. However, let us pause here. What makes this plastic so popular? Environmental friendliness. As we know, plastic is one of the biggest enemies of the environment. Every year, millions of short tons of plastic end up in landfills or in oceans. But through recycling, we can reduce that impact by turning plastic waste into useful materials. And this is not just one of the eco-initiatives of brands, it is a real shift in the industry. Interestingly, some designers and brands already use textiles made from recycled plastic, not only for environmental benefits, but also for the unique look. In particular, materials made of plastic fibers can have very intriguing texture and sheen, which gives clothing a bit of an innovative and futuristic appearance. Imagine a t-shirt that is not only made from plastic, but also has a striking texture that reminds us of the future. Research shows that reusing textiles can save up to 8 short tons of carbon dioxide and approximately 164 gigajoules of energy for every short ton of textile waste. Converting that to American measures, 164 gigajoules is about 155 million British thermal units. Recycling textiles saves 5 6/10 short tons of carbon and about 116 gigajoules of energy per short ton, which is around 110 million British thermal units. That is a considerable difference on a global scale. Technology. Fabrics made from recycled plastic can be just as comfortable and stylish as regular fabrics. They even have certain advantages. They are water repellent, resistant to fading, and they hold up well to wear and tear. Moreover, if these fabrics are processed correctly, they can be made soft and pleasant to the touch. And here, we should remember another point: microplastic that can enter water through recycled fabrics. When we wash clothes, especially items made from synthetic materials, microscopic plastic particles can get into the water. However, some brands are already working on solutions to minimize this impact. For example, they use special technologies to reduce the release of microplastic during washing, or they create materials that are less prone to this. Innovation. However, it is worth noting that this is not just a trend. It is an innovation. Instead of continuing to produce more plastic, brands are finding ways to use what already exists. This opens up new possibilities for the fashion industry. For instance, one of the most fascinating technologies is recycling ocean plastic. The same plastic that is flooding our oceans can also be turned into clothing. For example, the company Parley for the Oceans creates materials from plastic collected from the oceans. This not only helps decrease the amount of plastic in the water, but also becomes the foundation for eco-friendly collections by brands such as Adidas. That is a whole different story, right? If you think that recycled plastic is something only for sportswear or accessories, you are mistaken. Imagine a stylish coat or an elegant dress made from material that was once a plastic bottle. These recycled plastic fabrics make their way onto the runways of major fashion shows and become part of refined collections. One of the most interesting examples is the Stella McCartney collection, which recently introduced a clothing line made from fabrics produced from recycled plastic bottles. And of course, you will not find any trace that these fabrics were ever anything else. They look and feel completely sophisticated. This is not merely about disposal. It is about creating genuine art out of what we used to throw away. Speaking of scale, some countries, such as the Netherlands or Sweden, have become true leaders in plastic recycling. There are even specialized factories there that transform plastic waste into textile, which then becomes part of both sports and everyday clothing. It is an entirely new approach to waste processing that not only helps preserve resources, but also creates new jobs. It turns out that the process of recycling plastic into textile not only saves the planet, but also has significant economic potential. Many small startups around the world have begun to build business models based on the collection, recycling, and resale of plastic waste in the form of clothing. Such businesses often collaborate with local communities, involving them in collecting and recycling waste, which creates new jobs and stimulates the economy at a local level. Technologies of three-dimensional printing also use recycled plastic to create fabrics. Some companies have already started making textile materials by utilizing plastic waste through three-dimensional printing. This allows the creation of entirely new textures and shapes, as well as optimizing the clothing manufacturing process. Imagine clothing that is literally printed using plastic. In recent years, the so-called smart fabrics have also been gaining popularity in the textile industry. Materials that can change their properties depending on the surrounding conditions. Recycled plastic has a role here as well. Some brands are experimenting with integrating nanotechnologies into fabrics made from recycled plastic, enabling the creation of textiles that respond to temperature or moisture, making clothing more functional and comfortable. It sounds like something from a fantasy, but there are already materials made from recycled plastic that can self-clean. They have special coatings that allow the fabric to repel dirt and water. This technology can change the rules of the game in terms of durability and convenience, because clothing made of such fabrics would require much less washing. Another exciting direction involves fabrics that alter their appearance depending on how a person interacts with them. For example, fabrics that respond to body heat or change color during movement. All of these innovations can be created using recycled plastic, opening up new opportunities in fashion. One more interesting aspect is the recycling of plastic into artificial leather. Some innovative brands have already started making eco-friendly artificial leather out of recycled plastic waste. Such leather can be used to manufacture bags, footwear, and even outerwear. This offers a material that resembles genuine leather, but without the use of animal products and with a smaller environmental impact. Here is the thing. Today's youth is a generation that is becoming increasingly aware of environmental issues. You are no longer just buying clothing. You are buying clothing that tells a story. You are buying not just fabric, but a certain idea. A future that can be more sustainable and clean. And when you wear clothing made from recycled plastic, you are not merely shopping. You are joining the change. You are becoming a part of this large movement. Of course, there are questions about the cost, quality, and availability of such materials. But do you know what? It is only a matter of time. With the advancement of technology and the growth in demand for eco-friendly products, these fabrics will become even more affordable. And that is great, because each of us can contribute to improving the situation. Perhaps in a few years, we will only wear clothing made from recycled material. And, to be honest, that does not seem so fantastic. It might become the norm, rather than the exception. And who knows, maybe in the future, even your favorite brand will use plastic waste to create new trendy items. Yes, it sounds like science, but science and fashion can accomplish many wonders together. So the next time you are choosing what to wear, think about this. Maybe it is another step toward a better world. And if plastic waste can become part of your style, then why not? Imagine this. By 2030, the entire world could be threatened by over 12 million short tons of spent lithium-ion batteries. But what actually happens to electric vehicles once they reach the end of their service life? It is not just simple disassembly. It is a high-technology process where even the remaining battery charge is used to power industrial facilities. Meanwhile, steel, aluminum, and plastic go right back into manufacturing, giving a new life to old automobiles. Watch until the end. You will be surprised by how efficient this recycling has become. The cost of electricity for charging is significantly lower than the cost of gasoline or diesel fuel, and the motor runs rather quietly. This, of course, increases the comfort of the ride. The most popular models are produced by Tesla, but there are many other manufacturers on the market, including Nissan, BMW, Audi, Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen, Porsche, Rivian, Ford, General Motors, and Hyundai, which is quite a lot. However, even an electric vehicle eventually reaches the end of its service life. When the vehicle arrives at this end, it is sent for recycling. First, the car is deregistered, and then it is taken to special facilities that handle disassembly and recycling of vehicles. These can be recycling centers, auto dismantling sites, or recycling factories. Vehicles may be delivered by the owners themselves or by dedicated services that pick up damaged or non-operational cars. Some facilities work with insurance companies or government organizations that coordinate disposal programs. When the car arrives at the site, it is initially inspected to determine which parts can be reused and which must undergo complete disposal. The site is typically an area equipped with bays or specialized zones where all processes take place. Mechanics and equipment operators work here, removing vehicle components both manually and with the help of machines. First, all technical fluids are drained. The car is placed on a special lift or in a separate drainage area. Operators use pumps or remove drain plugs to extract motor oil, transmission fluid, antifreeze, brake fluid, and fuel. the fuel is pumped out with vacuum systems to prevent fire hazards, and the motor oil is collected in containers for later recycling. After that, the disassembly of the vehicle begins. The battery is removed first and sent to a separate recycling process. There, it is tested to determine the level of remaining charge and suitability for reuse. The removal must be done carefully, as the battery contains toxic and flammable materials. This can take from 30 minutes to 60 minutes by itself. If the battery can still hold a charge, it is used in stationary energy systems, for example, to store energy from solar panels. If the battery is completely worn out, it is sent for disposal. To monitor battery condition even before disposal, Tesla, for instance, uses its own software that can remotely evaluate the remaining capacity, the level of cell degradation, and the overall condition of the vehicle's energy system. This makes it possible to determine whether the battery can be used in secondary energy applications or must be fully disassembled. Through this approach, the company reduces the number of batteries immediately sent for disposal, extending their life cycle as stationary energy storage systems for as long as possible. The recycling of Tesla electric vehicles happens in much the same way as the recycling of other electric vehicles, but there are certain specifics due to the battery design, the body materials, and the software. Tesla batteries have a complex modular structure and a high energy density, requiring additional safety measures, including a complete discharge and controlled disassembly. A full discharge of a Tesla battery is carried out at specialized recycling centers, where strict safety measures are followed to avoid the risk of fire or explosion. This is done using special equipment that gradually removes any leftover electrical energy, placing the battery into a safe state. Because lithium-ion batteries maintain a high energy density, they can still hold a substantial charge even after extended use, making the discharge process critically important prior to further recycling. According to estimates, by the end of 2030, around 12 million short tons of spent lithium-ion batteries could end up in landfills if effective recycling systems are not put in place. To discharge the battery, industrial systems of controlled power consumption are connected, gradually drawing off the remaining energy. These machines operate on the principle of creating a controlled electrical load, simulating energy consumption, where electrical energy is converted into heat that is then dissipated by active cooling systems. Another method involves connecting the battery to industrial energy storage systems, which can use the residual charge to power facilities or feed electricity back into the grid. The process occurs in a controlled environment with low humidity to minimize the risk of corrosion and unwanted chemical reactions. The temperature is maintained between 50 degrees Fahrenheit and 68 degrees Fahrenheit because higher temperatures can accelerate degradation of battery cells, while lower temperatures increase the risk of electrolyte instability. The operator oversees discharge parameters through computerized monitoring systems, which record voltage, current, and battery temperature in real time. Once the charge falls to a safe level, typically below 1% of the original capacity, the battery is considered discharged and ready for further disassembly. The battery is taken apart, separating the casing, modules, and electronics. Each module consists of thousands of lithium-ion cells that must be properly recycled to recover valuable metals. The modules are mechanically shredded in specialized installations that operate in an inert gas environment or under liquid nitrogen to prevent spontaneous combustion of any leftover active materials. The resulting shredded mass undergoes either thermal treatment or chemical solutions to remove organic components such as electrolyte and binding substances. After processing, the recovered metals are reused in the production of new batteries, and the remaining materials are disposed of in accordance with environmental standards. Toxic waste is neutralized at specialized facilities. Currently, only about 5% of lithium-ion batteries are recycled worldwide, indicating a major opportunity to improve recycling infrastructure. One key method for recovering valuable materials is hydrometallurgy. This process involves dissolving shredded elements in specialized chemical solutions that allow for the separate extraction of nickel, cobalt, lithium, and other metals. Compared to the traditional pyrometallurgical method, which uses melting at high temperatures, hydrometallurgy is more energy efficient and environmentally safe because it allows the extraction of pure metals without significant air emissions. Thus, the batteries are disassembled, casings and electronic components are recovered, and then the active electrode material is shredded. The resulting shredded mass is referred to as black powder, as it contains oxides and other metal compounds. Next, this powder is dissolved in an acidic environment, using, for instance, sulfuric or hydrochloric acid. This stage is known as acid leaching, during which the metals convert into a solution. As a result, a liquid mixture forms that contains ions of lithium, nickel, cobalt, and other elements. The next step is extraction and selective precipitation. Using reagents such as organic extractants or precipitating agents, specific metals are extracted from the solution. For example, lithium may be precipitated as lithium carbonate or lithium hydroxide, both of which are used in the production of new batteries. Nickel and cobalt can be extracted by altering the alkaline solution or by precipitation using sulfides and hydroxides. After precipitation, the metals undergo additional purification, including filtration and recrystallization. The end products, metal salts or metal oxides, are sent back into production for new battery cathode materials. The efficiency of hydrometallurgy makes it possible to recover over 90% of nickel, cobalt, and manganese, as well as up to 90% of lithium. This significantly reduces the need to mine new resources and promotes a closed-loop battery manufacturing cycle. After disassembling and processing the batteries, the electric vehicle recycling process continues. The motor and transmission are removed if they are suitable for reuse or repair. This can be done by people manually, using wrenches, jacks, and other tools, or by robotic systems that simplify the process. Wheels, radiators, electronics, and glass are also removed, and these components can be sold separately or recycled. Window glass, for instance, is recycled by shredding it into granules, which are then used in construction or to produce new automotive glass. Plastic components, such as bumpers, interior panels, and fuel tanks, are processed by shredding and later used to create new products. Only when all valuable and hazardous components have been removed from the car do they proceed to recycle the body. It may be cut into large pieces using hydraulic shears or sent directly to a shredder. Shredders reduce the metal frame to small fragments, which are then sorted by material type. Steel and aluminum are separated using magnets or electronic sensors, after which they are sent for remelting. Those parts of the vehicle that cannot be recycled may be disposed of by incineration to produce heat energy, or buried at specialized landfills. The entire process can take anywhere from a few hours to several days, depending on the type of vehicle and the level of automation at the facility. However, with modern technology, the percentage of materials that can be reused is constantly rising, and it currently exceeds 3/4 of a vehicle's total mass.
Ready to explode with curiosity? In this video, we're about to open some top-secret doors to the world of fireworks and firecrackers, things you never even knew existed. Stick around, and you'll see how a simple blend of gunpowder turns into the magic behind the brightest blasts. You'll get the lowdown on the wild history behind their creation and the unusual secrets of master pyrotechnicians. This segment will get your heart pounding faster, trust me. Watch till the end, because the best part is still ahead. Stay with us all the way through, and you'll find out something that'll totally flip your perspective. Don't miss out. Firecrackers, they're the more hot-headed guys in this family. Their main trick? It's all about the sound, not the show. Sure, they're simpler in design, but they deliver the same kind of magic. Noise and pure adrenaline. Like fireworks, firecrackers use black powder as their base, but the approach here is a bit more straightforward. The key is nailing the right balance to get a powerful boom without any extra fancy effects. Typically, a firecracker contains a black powder mixture, a casing, and a fuse. We'll get into what's inside later, but for now, let's talk about the casing. It's usually a paper or cardboard cylinder that holds everything together. The material's gotta be strong enough to hold off the blast till the big moment, but not so tough that it creates dangerous shrapnel. The fuse is the most critical part. It sets off the entire explosive process. It could be a thin cotton wick soaked in chemicals or more modern ignition systems. How are firecrackers made? All the ingredients for the black powder mix are measured out with serious precision, then blended to get the perfect consistency. Accuracy is huge here. Just a little extra saltpeter can make the explosion go wild. Too little, and the firecracker won't ignite at all. Paper or cardboard tubes are cut to the needed length, then carefully loaded with the black powder mixture. These casings typically have sealed ends to build up just the right pressure for the explosion. At the top of the firecracker, a small hole is made for the fuse. The fuse is inserted and held in place with glue or a special sealant.
The bottom and top edges of the firecracker are sealed tightly, often using glue or heat bonding. This ensures safe storage and transportation. Next, the firecrackers undergo careful testing. Manufacturers check the sound level, ignition speed, and quality of the explosion. Not all firecrackers are created equal. Cheap ones often have uneven filling, weaker sound, and a bigger risk of misfiring. They use lower quality materials, like plain paper instead of sturdier cardboard. High-quality firecracker casings are made from sturdy yet lightweight material. The black powder mixture inside is evenly distributed for a consistent effect. The fuses have a precise burn time to give you enough seconds to back off to a safe distance. Making firecrackers is no joke. Pyrotechnics plants follow strict safety rules. Workers operate in small crews, wear anti-static clothing, and handle only minimal amounts of mixture at any one time to reduce the risk of accidental explosions. Why are firecrackers so loud? This question comes up a lot. The deal is, a firecracker's explosion isn't just a chemical reaction. It's a massive release of energy in a confined space. When the powder burns, it releases hot gases that expand super fast, creating a powerful shockwave. And since the casing is tightly packed, that wave comes with the trademark boom sound we all know.
The word firecracker comes from the French pétard, meaning a blast. Like fireworks, firecrackers trace their roots back to China. Initially, they were used to scare off evil spirits, and only later did they become a popular form of entertainment. Today, firecrackers are an essential part of many celebrations and festivals around the globe. But their history shows that even the simplest things can have deep roots and a fascinating evolution. So, the next time you hear that familiar bang, remember just how much skill, history, and technique is packed into each tiny firecracker. When it comes to making fireworks, you also start by mixing gunpowder with other components. If you think of gunpowder as the engine of the firework, then the other materials are the artists who create that explosion of color, light, and shape. To get bright sparks, you need metal powders, like aluminum, magnesium, and titanium shavings. For vivid colors, you rely on metal salts such as strontium, barium, copper, and sodium. To boost the energy of the blast, you add ingredients like potassium nitrate, perchlorates, and charcoal. These act as oxidizers and fuels. And to hold it all together, you use binding agents, like water-soluble glues. Each component is first ground into the finest possible powder. Picture shining metal particles dancing in the light as the master prepares them for blending. These powders are so lightweight, it's almost as if they're suspended in midair, like some kind of magical dust. The most important step starts when the ingredients go into a mill filled with ceramic or wooden balls. These balls rotate gently, grinding the mix into a perfectly uniform blend. There's a soft rustle and a light tapping sound. Kind of a subtle rhythm, reminding you that a future burst of colors is being born. As for mixing the ingredients by hand, at traditional production sites, this step is done with great care and reverence. Specialists slowly and carefully blend the ingredients with wooden or copper paddles. Why so slow? Because even a single stray spark could set the whole thing off. The mixture looks like a shimmering sand, where each component has its role to play. To avoid accidental explosions, the mixture is often moistened. Water doesn't just make the process safer, it adds a sort of mysterious alchemy, as gunpowder and colorants form tiny granules. The smallest mistake can cause a tragedy. You know what pyrotechnic masters do before they start working? They remove all metal objects, even wedding rings, to prevent sparks. In many labs, cell phones are strictly forbidden, and employees wear anti-static clothing. Even the air matters. Conditions are kept humid enough so that mixes don't dry out and become dangerously volatile. Before packing the mixture into the casing, the masters test how it burns. A small sample is ignited, and everyone holds their breath. Is that the perfect shade of blue? Are the sparks bright enough? It's like a dress rehearsal before the big show.
Creating shapes and colors. That's the coolest part of production. Want a heart or a star in the sky? It all depends on how the stars are arranged. These are tiny pellets with a special composition. Where'd those brilliant reds, greens, and blues come from? All thanks to chemical compounds. For instance, barium makes green, strontium makes red, and copper makes blue. Once all the components are prepped, the next crucial step is filling the casing, where the heart of the future firework is born. It's right here that the explosive mix and colorants become a finished product, capable of painting the night sky in every color of the rainbow. The casing is a shell that holds all the fireworks parts together. It's made from special materials that can handle high pressure and heat, yet remain light enough to shoot into the sky. Cylindrical shapes are perfect for forming sharp patterns like rings, chrysanthemums, or peonies, while spherical shells create symmetrical three-dimensional effects, like a glowing orb exploding into hundreds of sparks. The filling process is super important, because the exact placement of components ensures the desired effect. Let's break it down step by step. First, you take cylindrical or spherical shells, usually made of cardboard, plastic, or specially treated paper with fire-resistant properties. Spheres typically come in two halves that will be joined later. It's crucial that the casing is airtight. That guarantees the explosion happens at the right moment with the right intensity. The black powder charge, acting as the main engine, sits at the center. It's responsible for propelling the firework skyward and making sure it explodes properly. Around that charge, the colorants and special effect mixtures are arranged. Each tiny star element is placed by hand or using special machines. These stars are what we call the pellets that burn in the sky. For spherical shells, these stars are placed evenly, so that when it explodes, it forms a perfect sphere of light. In cylindrical shells, charges are often laid in layers or formed into specific patterns, depending on the planned effect. One standard spherical firework can hold about 200 to 300 pellets. Large, multi-layer shells might have over 1,000 of them. To ensure the firework explodes at the right time, a time delay fuse is added. A small tube filled with a slower burning composition. This timer connects to the main charge, providing a delay between the rocket's launch and the burst in the sky. After all elements are in place, they're secured with a special paste or paper spacers. This keeps every component locked in position during the launch. The casing might then be wound tightly with string or glued for extra rigidity. Crafting one large professional-grade firework can take up to 4 hours, considering all the careful assembly and testing. For a massive show with several thousand shells, pyrotechnicians might work for a few months straight. The spherical shape is the classic standard in pyrotechnics, giving an even spread of stars and creating that perfect circular effect. Filling such a shell requires even more skill. Each star is placed by hand around the central charge. It's all on the master's shoulders. How the components are arranged will define how the explosion looks. For example, to create a smiley face in the sky, the pellets are laid out in the shape of a face. When the powder ignites, those pellets spread out just right, forming the intended pattern. Every year, over 200,000 short tons of fireworks are produced worldwide. China is the leader here, accounting for about 90% of the global output. For major holidays, like Independence Day in the United States or New Year's Eve in Sydney, up to 10,000 separate fireworks might be launched in a single night. Such a display can last over 20 minutes and sometimes costs as much as $5 million. Despite the beauty of fireworks, safety stats are pretty alarming. In the United States each year, up to 10,000 injuries are reported due to improper use of pyrotechnics, with about 70% of the injured being young people under 20 years old. Here we are, standing at the entrance of a massive cornflakes factory. Did you know that around 4 billion pounds of cornflakes are made worldwide every year? Impressive, right? You ready? Let's go. I'll walk you through everything step by step, from the very beginning all the way to how these crunchy, delicious flakes end up on your breakfast table. It all starts in the cornfields. For cornflakes, a specific type of corn is used, yellow dent corn. This variety isn't like the sweet corn we're used to eating boiled or grilled. It's starchier and contains less sugar, making it perfect for processing. The corn is harvested using massive combines that literally slice through the fields, stripping the cobs and separating the kernels. From there, it's sent to the factory. Before transportation, the corn is carefully dried to reduce moisture and preserve its quality during transit. At the factory, the kernels undergo hundreds of tests. They're checked for size, density, moisture levels, and even color. Every detail matters to create perfectly uniform and crispy flakes. And when it comes to cornflakes, the most iconic brand is still Kellogg's, which first introduced them way back in 1894. Cornflakes, like many culinary inventions, were born out of a mix of chance and experimentation. They were created by the Kellogg brothers, John Harvey Kellogg and his younger brother, Will Keith Kellogg, in the late 19th century. John Harvey Kellogg was a doctor and the director of a sanitarium in Battle Creek, Michigan, USA. His sanitarium followed strict principles of healthy living, offering patients a plant-based diet, physical exercise, and even some rather radical treatments, like hydrotherapy. One of John's main goals was to develop healthy and easy-to-digest food for his patients. Will Keith Kellogg, his brother, worked alongside him at the sanitarium, handling administrative tasks and helping bring his ideas to life. In 1894, John and Will were experimenting with different ways to process grains to make them easier to digest. One day, they cooked a batch of wheat dough, but accidentally left it out to dry for too long. By the time they returned, the dough had become overly dry and brittle. Curious, they decided to run it through rollers to see what would happen. To their surprise, the result was thin flakes, which they toasted to make crispy. The patients at the sanitarium loved them. Later, the brothers decided to try experimenting with corn, as it was cheaper, more widely available, and delivered even better results. And just like that, cornflakes were born. After the success of their flakes, Will Keith Kellogg saw massive business potential and wanted to sell them on a larger scale. However, John Harvey Kellogg disagreed. He viewed them solely as dietary food for patients. In 1906, Will founded the Kellogg's Company, which remains the world's largest producer of cornflakes to this day. The production scale has grown so much that Kellogg's now uses over 1.5 billion pounds of corn every year. Cornflakes became a massive hit in the US, especially among women who loved them as a quick and easy breakfast option. The original recipe was simple, just corn, salt, and a little sugar. Today's versions come in dozens of flavors and include all kinds of additional ingredients. Now here we are inside the production floor. Huge silos are filled with corn, which is gradually fed into the first stage, cleaning. Specialized machines remove debris, stones, leftover cobs, and husks. Next, the corn goes through a magnetic separator. You might be wondering, why a magnet? It's to ensure no metal fragments from harvesting or transport make it through. Once the corn is thoroughly cleaned, it's sent to giant tanks filled with hot water. Here, it cooks for several hours at around 212 degrees Fahrenheit. This softens the kernels and allows them to absorb moisture, preparing them for the next stages of processing. After boiling, the corn is moved into machines that separate the germ and the hull from the kernel. The germ, the part of the grain that's packed with oil, is removed so the flakes don't turn out too greasy. Once the kernel is cleaned, it's ready for the next step, roller processing. And here's where things get really exciting. The cleaned corn kernels are poured into specialized steel rollers that, under immense pressure, flatten each kernel into a thin sheet. These rollers spin at incredible speeds, and the entire process happens almost instantly. Watching it in real time feels like magic. Corn literally transforms into flakes right before your eyes. The flattened kernels now resemble thin, golden discs. But hold on, they're not quite the flakes you're used to eating just yet. Now we're getting to the massive ovens. This is where the flakes are dried and toasted at around 482 degrees Fahrenheit. It's here that they develop that perfect, crispy texture and beautiful golden color. Imagine the smell in this room. It's like popcorn, but sweeter.
At this stage, a touch of sugar, salt, or even honey is added to the flakes, depending on the recipe. For glazed flakes, they're coated with a thin layer of sugar syrup that caramelizes right in the oven. How many crunchy flakes could you eat? Fun fact, there's even a championship for speed-eating cornflakes, and the record stands at 16 ounces in just 1 minute. Crazy, right? Now watch as countless hot, crispy flakes roll off the conveyor belt. But not all of them make it into the boxes, only those that pass quality control. Special machines check their shape, thickness, and even the sound they make when they break. Seriously, that's a real quality measure. Once the flakes are ready, they're cooled and packed into bags. The machines automatically weigh each portion, seal it in foil-lined bags to keep it fresh, and place it into cardboard boxes. It takes about 3.5 ounces of corn to produce 1 box of flakes, but growing that amount of corn requires 5 gallons of water. Here's a fun throwback. In the 1980s, a British company tried selling cornflakes in cans, like soup, but the idea flopped because customers thought it looked too weird. Almost 100% of cornflake boxes are made from recycled cardboard, and the printing is done with soy-based ink. Here we are, standing next to the warehouse filled with ready-to-go products. Just imagine, these boxes of cornflakes are about to head out to every corner of the globe. There'll be breakfast for kids in the United States, snacks for students in Europe, or even a key ingredient in desserts across Asia. Fun fact, cornflakes were actually invented in the United States, but today they're a hit in over 180 countries worldwide. Modern factories take eco-friendliness to the next level. Leftover corn from processing gets repurposed as livestock feed, and the cardboard boxes? They're made from recycled materials. Oh, and here's a surprising twist. In some farming communities, cornflakes are actually used as cattle feed. Farmers discovered that cows love this stuff. Cornflakes have even made it to space. They were included in the diets of American astronauts during NASA missions. Every year, more than 6 billion servings of cornflakes are consumed worldwide. That's enough to feed the entire population of Earth breakfast for 3 weeks straight. And here's something crazy. Listen closely. If you place a magnet near cornflakes, they might actually move toward it. Why? Because cornflakes are fortified with iron, an essential nutrient for human health. Have you tried it yourself? Drop a comment and let us know what happened. Jingle Bells is already playing nearby, and the holiday season feels closer than ever. Christmas trees and ornaments always bring us warmth and joy. It's impossible to create a festive atmosphere without them. What kind of celebration would it be without colorful glass baubles and a towering Christmas tree in the middle of the room? Today, I'll lift the veil of mystery and share a little insight into how these essential holiday decorations are made. The tradition of decorating trees dates back to pre-Christian times. Ancient European peoples, including the Celts and Germanic tribes, revered evergreen trees as symbols of life, resilience, and renewal. During the winter months, they adorned tree branches with fruits, nuts, and ribbons to appease the spirits of nature. In medieval Europe, Christmas trees began to be associated with Christian celebrations. In the 14th and 15th centuries, the first paradise trees appeared in Germany. These were set up in homes or churches during the Feast of Adam and Eve. They were decorated with red apples, symbolizing the forbidden fruit, as well as bread or wafers, representing abundance. Live Christmas trees can have a significant environmental impact. While the large-scale deforestation that once preceded the holidays is no longer common, since most trees are now grown specifically for this purpose, the trend of replacing real trees with convenient alternatives is gaining momentum. Unlike our ancestors, who had no such option, today's artificial Christmas trees are an excellent, long-lasting choice. A single artificial tree can last anywhere from 5 to 10 years. This reduces the demand for cutting down live trees, helping to preserve forests and contributing to the fight against climate change. The production of artificial Christmas trees is a fairly complex technological process. The first step involves designing the tree. Designers create a model, determining its dimensions, shape, and color. The most common sizes of artificial trees range from approximately 3 to 10 feet, though larger versions are also crafted for public spaces. Safe materials that comply with environmental standards are used in the manufacturing process. Polyvinyl chloride is the primary material used to create the branches, as it effectively imitates natural needles. Metal is utilized for the trunk and frame, providing structural strength and stability. Each year, around 11 tons of polyvinyl chloride and 5.5 tons of metal are used in production. The branches are made by cutting polyvinyl chloride into thin strips. Machines process these strips into fine slivers that resemble needles. The number of these needles on a single branch can range from 500 to 1,000. These slivers are then attached to a metal wire, which is bent into the shape of a branch. Depending on the size of the tree, a single model can include anywhere from 50 to 150 individual branches. Once assembled, the branches are painted using special eco-friendly paints that are free of toxic components. Each production batch can require up to 26 gallons of paint to ensure even coverage. The branches are attached to a frame, which can be either collapsible or solid. On the production line, workers manually secure each branch. Assembling a single medium-sized Christmas tree takes between 1 and 3 hours. In the final stage, every tree undergoes an inspection. This process checks the strength of the attachments, the uniformity of the color, and the stability of the structure. Finished trees are packed into sturdy cardboard boxes. Each box can weigh between 7 and 22 pounds, depending on the size of the tree. I once worked as a courier, and my back nearly gave out when I saw those boxes of finished trees at the factory. The tree is ready, and now it needs to be decorated. In the 18th century, glass blowers in the town of Lauscha began making the first glass Christmas ornaments. Lauscha became the hub of production for these decorations. Initially, the ornaments were simple spheres, designed to mimic apples. Later, bells, hearts, and stars were introduced. Today, most ornaments are made of plastic, a practical, economical, less hazardous, and more durable option. These plastic ornaments boast incredible shine, a wide color palette, and resistance to high temperatures. However, their production requires a significant amount of specialized equipment. As with Christmas trees, the process starts with designers creating a model of the ornament. Workers and engineers then develop molds for all the parts of the design. Once tested, the molds are sent to an injection molding machine, where liquid plastic fills the mold. After the plastic cools, the mold is split into 2 parts, and the completed pieces of the ornament, if not made in a single piece, are assembled together. Handling heated plastic isn't exactly pleasant, but the results are absolutely worth it. As a child, my favorite ornaments on the Christmas tree were candy. Amid all the holiday hustle and bustle, I would quietly unwrap the candy, eat it, and leave the foil hanging on the green branch. As an adult, I became curious about how other ornaments are made, especially glass ones. The production of glass Christmas ornaments is a delicate and labor-intensive process that blends craftsmanship, artistry, and modern technology. To create glass baubles, a special type of borosilicate glass is used. This material is resistant to temperature changes and ideal for blowing into shape. Each year, approximately 5 tons of glass are used to sustain production. The glass is supplied in tubes about 3.28 feet long, with diameters ranging from 0.4 to 2 inches. The first step is shaping the forms through glass blowing. This is done manually using gas burners that heat the glass tubes to temperatures exceeding 1,832 degrees Fahrenheit. The glass tube is first heated until it melts, after which the artisan blows into it, shaping it into a sphere or other forms. Crafting a standard 4-inch diameter bauble takes about 3 to 5 minutes. For more complex shapes, such as hearts, bells, or figurines, metal molds are used. The glass is blown into the mold, and once cooled, the piece emerges with a defined relief. A single workshop can produce between 100 and 200 ornaments per day. After shaping, the glass blanks are coated with a silver layer to give them a brilliant shine. This process uses a solution of silver nitrate. The interior of the bauble is filled with the solution and heated to around 176 degrees Fahrenheit. This causes the walls of the ornament to be coated with a thin layer of silver. Producing a batch of 50 ornaments requires approximately 1 gallon of solution.
The next step is painting. This is done either by hand or in specialized painting booths. The ornaments are dipped into paint or sprayed with it. A single batch of 100 ornaments may require up to 0.8 gallons of paint. Afterward, the painted blanks are dried in special ovens at approximately 140 degrees Fahrenheit for about 2 hours. The most fascinating stage is hand decorating. In countries like the Czech Republic and Germany, the tradition of crafting artisanal handmade ornaments has been preserved. Artisans paint the designs by hand using brushes, adding glitter, or using stencils. Decorating a single ornament can take anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes. Popular themes include winter landscapes, snowflakes, and fairy tale characters. Glitter is also applied manually using special brushes and tools. A batch of 50 ornaments can require up to 2.2 pounds of glitter. These artisans truly create the magic of Christmas, friends. After completing the decoration process, the toys are fitted with metal caps and loops for hanging. In a single day, a craftsman can attach approximately 200 caps. This task requires focus and meticulous attention to detail to avoid damaging the decorations. A single mistake by one person could deprive hundreds of children of their holiday joy, making this position extremely important. Each toy undergoes an inspection. Craftsmen evaluate it for defects in the glass, paint, or decorations. The finished products are then packed into sturdy cardboard boxes or gift packaging. Depending on the size of the toys, each box can hold between 4 and 10 items. Christmas trees and glass ornaments evoke feelings of coziness, tranquility, and the magic of togetherness within the family. Every decoration, from a vibrant bauble to an elegant bell, can hold a special story, preserving memories in its glittering surface. The glow reflecting the twinkling lights of garlands, the sound of Christmas carols, and the aroma of festive dishes. What could be more enchanting on these cold winter evenings? These elements not only beautify a space, but also fill it with the spirit of a holiday tale that brings people together. At the same time, Christmas trees and ornaments serve as a reminder of the importance of preserving nature and cultural traditions. Modern technology now enables the creation of eco-friendly trees and decorations. For instance, recycled plastic, eco-friendly paints, and biodegradable materials are increasingly used. Three-dimensional printers are also growing in popularity, allowing for the production of unique and customized decor.